couldn't even pre-stage it. We actually have between our linemen and truck drivers. So we're small. Yeah. We brought in 4 years old. So we were able to do that pretty good.
Where I got success.
We really good.
Finally got what I wanted was a vacation.
That's always somebody. Golf courses, we got a lot of good.
Found the answer to the phone.
Kept people. Is that him just trying to call?
No, I was trying to see if you could
West of was it Virginia Beach? They did a great job. They were here a year ago.
I miss him.
You lead the pledge. Can you do? You want to lead the pledge? Okay, thank you.
Let's see if I can figure it out.
Go find out who good you are.
Oh, it's time. Good evening, everybody. Thank you for attending. If you have a cell phone, would you please silence it or turn it off? Excuse me a minute while I check mine. If you would all rise, we'll have the Pledge of Allegiance and a prayer. Mrs. Fritz Parker, please.
I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. If you'd bow your heads for a moment, please. Heavenly Father, thank you for today and thank you for this great country. Thank you for sparing us of the last storm, even though there has been some damage, but thank you that there was, as we know, no loss of life in our community. Thank you for everything you do for us, and thank you for the people that come forth to serve. Amen. Did Mr. Davenport get called in, or are we still minus?
He said he was going to try to call in, but he doesn't have a good reception.
Okay, would you please call the roll at this time?
Chairman Beanbaugh,
Here.
Commissioner Fritz Parker,
here.
Commissioner Davenport, Commissioner Griffith,
Here.
Commissioner Holcomb.
Here.
We have election of officers tonight. We need a president, a vice president, a secretary treasurer, and assistant secretary treasurer. At this point, I will open the nominations for the president, or for the chair.
I nominate Mr. Biedenbach.
Yeah, I think I'm good with keeping the way we got it and moving forward.
Can we just do that? Keep it the way we had it and move forward?
You can do a blanket appointment for the appointment process.
Mr. Griffith?
Mr. Chairman, I was just going to suggest perhaps Mr. Davenport take my place since I'm kind of rotating out. So if that's possible, you all three stay where you are, and Assistant Secretary Treasurer.
In other words, he gets nominated for a job because he isn't here?
I would like to respectfully nominate
All right.
I'll be happy to call him later.
Okay. Okay, then Let's just go through the three that are here, and we'll do the fourth one for Mr. Davenport, and you can inform him that he is the new guy. All right. All right. Call a roll on the chairman, please, Debbie.
Chairman Beanbaum?
Yes.
Commissioner Ritz Parker?
Yes.
Commissioner Griffith?
Yes.
Commissioner Holcomb?
Yes.
Okay. Vice President, open for nominations.
Vice Chair.
Vice Chair, thank
I
you.
nominate Jack Holcomb.
It's just-
Anybody else? Debbie, please.
Chairman Beanbaum?
Yes.
Commissioner Ritz Parker?
Yes.
Commissioner Griffith?
Yes.
Commissioner Holcomb?
Yes.
You're going to have to, I can't do her.
Okay. So, she's treasurer, right?
Yes, Treasurer
So I'd like
Secretary.
to nominate, make motion to nominate Ms. Bridget Parker for treasurer.
Second?
Debbie, call the roll.
Chairman Beanbaum?
Yes.
Commissioner Ritz Parker?
Yes.
Commissioner Griffith?
Yes.
Commissioner Holcomb?
Yes.
You want to go ahead and just nominate Mr. Davenport, and we'll,
Davenport for Assistant Secretary and Treasurer.
okay. Debbie, call the roll, please.
Chairman Beanbaum?
Yes.
Commissioner Ritz Parker?
Yes.
Commissioner Griffith?
Yes.
Commissioner Holcomb?
Yes.
Don't miss meetings, anybody. You will get a job. All right. Mr. Mitchell,
Yes, sir.
any additions or deletions?
No, sir.
Okay. Public participation at this time. Anybody in the audience would like to come forth and speak to us? Mayor?
Jim Hathaway, 58 Cunningham Drive, New Smyrna Beach, also the mayor of the city of New Smyrna Beach. Thank you, Mr. Chair, Commissioners, for allowing me to speak to you this evening. On behalf of the citizens of New Smyrna Beach, and on behalf of the City Commission of the City of New Smyrna Beach, it's my privilege and honor to thank each and every one of you for a job well done, for your staff being out there, getting us up and running much quicker than many of our sister cities. I thank you all very much for a job well done. I want you to pass that on to each of your linemen, to your supervisors, to everybody that has anything to do with this utility. Let them know how thankful and grateful we are as a city for what you have done. And I want to thank your PIO. She was there with us at our EOC Center. The job she did in terms of getting out that information on Facebook, for allowing people to know exactly where we were, was just great. And it worked very well for many people. Now, I know it was a stressful time for many of us, and I want to clarify. I got some kudos for something I really didn't do. And I want to clarify that all I did was, when people couldn't get through to the UC on their telephone, they could either text me, or they could phone me, or they caught me in a grocery store out on the street and told me they didn't have power. And what I did was basically text those information to your UC chair, let him know these were houses that were still without power. I had nothing to do with turning anybody's power on. I want you to all understand that. All I did was basically pass the information forward. I also wanted to clarify that there's a site out there on the web, and it's called Nextdoor. And there's a little misinformation going on out there that says that the mayor and or the city commission is trying to take over the Utilities Commission. Nothing could be further from the truth. The city of New Smyrna Beach and the Utilities Commission are working well hand in hand. We work together on the Central Beach issue. We work together on the right now on the Islesboro and Inlet Shores issue, and we're working on the 44 Glencoe extension of the sewer line. And we thank you all very much for working together with us on these projects. And, there's Buddy calling in.
Operation.
He's too late.
Hello.
Hello, Chairman Beaverbot.
He's here. He hears you.
We hear you, Mr.
Hello.
Yeah. Buddy, the mayor is in the
Yes,
middle
sir.
of a speech. Sit tight for a minute, and then we'll talk to you.
The mayor's gonna make a speech. Hey, Mayor, all right, thank you.
Hello, buddy. I'm glad you're
just
here
went
in
through
spirit, if not anywhere in person, but thanks for being here.
Go ahead.
Let me just say again, we are working very well together. Our individual units are working as a team. I think that's what the citizens and the ratepayers want to see us do. And I hope this miscommunication can be clarified, can be set straight, and the citizens can understand and the ratepayers can understand, we have no way, shape, or form wish to take over any aspect of the Utilities Commission. We have enough on our own plates as a city government dealing with the issues at New Smyrna Beach. But I thank you all very much for allowing me to speak to you this evening. I wish you the best of success in your future. And thank all your linemen and everybody right down the line for what they've done. And I know that the garlic is going to feed us all. We're looking forward to a good dinner for them thanking us. So thank you all very much.
Mayor, before you leave, it's not up here, it's out there. Just turn and look at those guys, because there's some of them sitting there. Thank you all that are out there. You guys Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you very much. Have a good evening.
Thank you.
Anybody want to try to top that? Go ahead, sir.
I wouldn't like to talk it, Mayor.
Buddy, hang on a minute. We got public participation at this point.
Okay, I'd like to share something before the mayor leaves.
He's gone.
Too late. He done gone.
Okay,
Walter
go ahead.
Allen,
Thank you,
Go ahead.
Thank you, Chairman.
3 Lynn Court, New Smyrna Beach.
Go ahead, Mr. Allen.
I just want to say, express my appreciation in what I've seen the commission do. As they've always done, they always do a superb job. The staff and the employees, as they work through a time of disaster, a time that you can really be distracted, but they perform well and utilize the resources to the max in meeting the need of the community. Also, one of the greatest things that I'm not a social media type person, but a lot of people communicating with them, the way that they handle keeping people informed. Power goes out, no electric, communications are down, internet's down, and they have a smartphone, so they're able to keep informed. And the commission did far greater and better than any utility that I know around that went through the storm in communicating what was happening and what they were doing. The greatest feat that takes place in that whole thing is the internal communications with the people in the field, getting information back to the person that can get it out there. Great job, and I just say, I know the people in this community appreciate it, and I just say, thumbs up.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr.
Thank you, sir.
Allen. Sir?
Hi, my name is Ray Cataline. I reside at 2511 Glenwood Avenue. First, to start off with, I want to thank the UC for how they handled the storm. I wasn't here, but I was able to get information about my house through you using next door. I knew exactly when my power was turned back on before I even got back to town. This place runs good. Some of you don't know me, some of you do. I do hair in this town. A lot of people that work in this building sit in my chair. Just want to make sure that I'm glad that the mayor said what he said, and I hope he was honest about the fact that the city's not trying to take this over, because I have friends that live in New Smyrna Beach, and I have friends that live in Edgewater that have P&L. This place does a fantastic job, and I'm going to make sure it stays that way. We're watching. You know, some of the information that I've gotten from the city that I see about some of the ratepayers' money that is wanting to be used to hire an outside attorney to get a separate opinion on something, I believe on your line item 8. Don't quite understand that, so I'd like to get some more information. That's why I'm here tonight. We're all ratepayers in this town. We like the rates that we have. I don't want to see us end up on FP&L rates. I've seen the differences in them. I've posted them online. The information that he was talking about that's been posted on NextStar, I'm the guy that posted it. It's public information. All of it came offline. So basically, I just came here tonight to listen in. It's the first time I've been here. It's time to get involved. I hope that some of you people came here because I came here too. You're going to see a lot more of us. So keep doing the job that you're doing, keep this place going the way it's going, and I'm all good with that. So thank you for your time.
Thank you, sir. Anybody else? Seeing none, I will close this portion of the meeting. Approval of consent items. Anybody have anything that they want pulled? Could I have a motion to approve the consent items, please? So moved.
Approved.
I'll second.
Okay. Been regularly moved and seconded. Any discussion, one way or the other? Buddy, are you okay with what's on there?
Absolutely. Thank you, sir.
Okay. Debbie, please.
Chairman Beanbaugh,
Yes?
Commissioner Rich Parker,
Yes.
Commissioner Davenport,
Yes.
Commissioner Griffith,
Yes.
Commissioner Holbrook.
Yes.
Okay. I don't see Mr. Belinsky out in the audience. Who is doing, oh, I'm sorry.
He's incognito tonight.
Good evening, Commissioners. I'm Lori Merchant, Controller for the Utilities Commission. Mr. Belinsky is out of the state. For the month of ended August 31st, 2017, the Utilities Commission change in net assets for the combined system is a positive $1.7 million. The balance in the fuel and purchase power account is an over recovery of $1.243 million. I said 1.2 million. I'm sorry. Which is an increase of approximately $64,000 for the month. We are on track for year-end as expected and do not anticipate any change in the rate at this time. Is there any questions?
Mr. Davenport, did you hear that? Do you have any questions?
I do not.
Okay. Anybody else? Thank you.
Thank you.
UC Emergency Restoration Activities, Mr. Mitchell.
This kind of speaks for itself. It was what the mayor spoke to also, and how we tried to handle this last storm as far as getting information out and getting out on Facebook, our website. And that has included a lot of responses we got from emails and different things with people communicating. I think the, we call it Facebook, which I'm not never been on it, but anyway, from what I understand, there was very valuable to a lot of people out there. And with this, I just wanted to recognize and thank personally myself to all of our departments, the people behind the scenes. Our linemen were out there, the face of it, everything. Our water and sewer people don't realize that if there's no power to those lift stations, they scramble like crazy, pumping and keeping stuff from backing up into houses. So it was a complete team effort. And the support behind them, HR, also our IT department with communications, customer service, manning the phones for us. It was a fantastic job, and I wanted to personally say thank you to them myself. A fantastic job. And that's just a little sample.
May I
in that
interject there,
package.
please, Mr. Beanbach?
Go ahead. Hang on a minute. Are you finished, Mr. Mitchell?
Yes, sir. Thank
Okay,
you.
go ahead, buddy.
I cannot really put in words about the positive statements and the Facebook and everything I saw about what you're doing there. I think it's Brittany and what all they're doing. Like, I don't do Facebook, but I know one thing. They bring it to me. And it was so positive in the whole community. Thank you, everybody. Seriously. Thank you.
All right.
Thank
That's
you.
it.
Stick something in there too.
Yeah, go ahead, Jack.
Wow.
Ray, we talked about last time, getting better from Matthew to where we're at. Obviously, for what I saw, it's great to have the power turned on real quick, but it tempers down the hostility the better the communication is.
I think information
Yeah.
and communication was a very big part.
100%. I think right now, because everybody's got their attention, they're still aware. Because I didn't know this. Once I found it on Facebook and I had the website, that's kind of where I hovered. And I was sitting next to my wife, and I asked a question or something. She said, "Oh, this is on." I go, "How did you know that?" Well, she scrolled to the bottom of the page and she put her phone number in and she got the text. So I think right now, while in our next billing cycle or whatever, because everybody's attention's kind of it's heightened, that all those means that we have for people that went through it that might want to know that, to come back and say, hey, if you just plug your cell phone number in, you're going to get those alerts. You don't have to go to Facebook, and you don't have to go to Twitter, and you don't have to go to the. And I was at no point, because I had a lot of people asking me, and it was so easy to answer them. Matthew, I had no answers. This I could have. It was effortless. So great job. I mean, when I tell you, usually you get better from one to the next. I don't know if you've had gains like that from the communication, but it was just easier for me to talk to people. And the last thing you want to do is start calling you guys to say, hey, this is off or that, because I don't want to slow down getting the power turned on. So it was real easy just to direct everybody to the updates. But I think right now I have everybody's attention. Next billing cycle, I would put that out there, make sure everybody's aware, maybe hopefully see what people engage our, you know, our Facebook and our taxes. So that was it.
Appreciate it.
I'm going to reiterate what both of these guys have said. The communication and the updates that came out, great job. And getting the information to the information people so that they could put it out, great job. Thank you all. Just confirm.
Good evening, Commissioners. Tim Byerly, Director of System Operations. Many of you may well be aware that Vero Beach has decided to sell their electric system. Since Vero Beach participates in power supply projects through the Florida Municipal Power Agency, or FMPA, they must get approval from all the other members of those projects in order to exit the projects. Tonight we have Mr. Jacob Williams, who's the CEO of FMPA, and Mr. Frank Gaffney, who's the COO. And they're going to give you a brief presentation and answer any questions about the process for Vero Beach exiting and our approvals.
All right. Well, thank you, and glad to be here. And if I could pile on to what was said earlier, we got a chance to look at all the statewide data of utility responses and utility.
Chairman Beatenbach, I can't hear, please.
Oh.
Hang on a minute, buddy.
And
I do apologize.
No problem.
And your utility did an outstanding job, and Ray and team ought to be congratulated because they did do a very good job compared to everybody else in the county and that. So did want to point that out. Thank you for being here tonight. Wanted to talk to you about the city of Vero Beach. Vero Beach has, as we said, has decided to sell the utility. Is that great? Thank you. City of Vero Beach has decided to sell their utility to Florida Power and Light, and there is a provision in their agreements, their ownership interest in the St. Lucie power plant, that specifically says they cannot sell their utility. And so in order for them to sell the utility, they must get waivers from all the project participants in the St. Lucie project and the other two projects. You are a participant with them in the St. Lucie project. Therefore, New Smyrna Beach must approve waiving that provision so that they could sell their utility. And that is why we're here tonight. The second reason we're here is the city of Vero Beach has talked to, and we've made a proposal that the ARP cities, the cities of Florida Municipal Power Agency, would take over their ownership share in 3 projects, that being St. Lucie, Stanton, and Stanton 2, and that we would take their place in the contract, the we being the 13 ARP cities. New Smyrna Beach is not one of those 13 cities. But if they take the place, you as a project participant have to agree that it's okay for for Vero Beach to have the ARP cities take their place on the contracts, and it would be the ARP cities who will then pay their share of the bills going forward. So you'll need to approve both them selling the utility, allowing them to sell the utility, and there'll be a waiver that ultimately would get. And second of all, that you would allow the ARP cities to take Vero Beach's place in the agreements that you have as it relates to Port St. Lucie. And that's why we're here tonight, is to give you some information. We're not expecting a decision tonight. We're expecting a decision at a later date. We'd give you the resolution and all that would have to be gone through. Our goal is to try to get all the cities' approvals. There'll be 19 cities in all that must approve this transaction by the end of the year. So our goal is to, over the next couple of months, to get everybody's approval for that transaction. So real quickly, just to take you through, Vero Beach has ownership shares in 3 power plants. The one of your interest is the Port St. Lucie one. They own 13 megawatts of the 87 that it's a ownership share. You own 8.6 megawatts of the Port St. Lucie project. So that is why we're here, is because you are both an owner in the same project that they are. and all the owners have certain agreements that go for each other. In all, there are 19 cities that ultimately have to approve Vero Beach selling their utility and taking the place. In your case, the only thing you need to approve is just that they're selling and taking over. For the cities that have a number one by them, like Bushnell, Clewiston, Fort Meade, etc., they are the ARP cities who are going to take Vero Beach's place in each one of those contracts. That they as a collective called the ARP will take over their position and pay all the bills as though they were Vero Beach, and they will take all the power. Okay? So what's being proposed and will provide before the next meeting, the next time to consider, is a series of consents that you will agree they can sell the utility, because right now it specifically prohibits them from selling it as part of the agreement they entered to participate in Port St. Lucie, and they would need a waiver from every project participant to do that. Second of all, again...
Excuse me, Mr. Biedenbach. Chairman, I'm sorry, sir. I do apologize for interrupting you, but I'm in Atlanta Airport, very frustrated, and I do apologize because you were going to come to our next meeting, but my battery's getting ready to go dead, and we got some officer elections of what we're going to do. Chairman Biedenbach and the board, I do apologize, but I've spent all day trying to get home to Florida. So he's going to come back to us soon, and out of respect, I would request that we can move forward and maybe cut this short. Thank you, sir.
Okay, Hank, Mr. Davenport, I don't think we can do that at this point.
Okay.
And if you're worried about the election, it's already been handled, and you are the new vice chair, or the assistant treasurer secretary. But
how does that happen, sir?
You aren't here.
Bet that won't happen again.
Lord. I do apologize.
Okay.
Apologize. I'm not.
All right, buddy, we're going to have to continue with what we're doing.
Go ahead. I do apologize.
No
I
problem.
do.
Excuse me, sir.
Thank you.
Go ahead.
All right, that's fine. So again, we'll need your consent to allow the Vero Beach to sell the utility, your consent to allow Vero Beach to assign their contract to the ARP cities. And then there's some other waivers of contingent liabilities and whatnot that'll all be agreed to. It's no financial impact to you. The only issue that you will want to fully understand, which is the next slide here, is that by the ARP cities taking over the position of Vero Beach, you worry about, is the credit of the ARP cities better or worse than Vero Beach, because they're going to commit to continue to pay the bills. And for your information, the ARP cities is a higher credit rating than is Vero Beach. There are obviously 13 cities that make up the ARP cities. They're 8 times the size in terms of electric load, and in a revenue standpoint, over 5 times the size from a revenue standpoint. So it's a better credit as a whole. So if one is worried about, gee, is there someone who's going to pay the bill? The fact is the ARP cities are a very good credit, and we'll take over for that. We're in the middle of the process. We've got this definitive sale agreement. We're in the middle of getting all the documents pulled together. So there's this 4-month process where we're going and getting all the bond trustees, the bondholders, everyone who's participated in the financing of the St. Lucie project. They all have to agree for this change. And so we're working with the financial community to get this. At the same time, we're trying to get all 19 cities to make agreements as well, to agree to this transfer. Once that is done, assuming that's done by the end of the year, then the FMPA board will then have to come back in January and February and finally approve the transaction. But before the board can consider it, each of the 19 cities must approve it. All cities have to approve it, or it can't be done. So that is why we're here before you tonight, to at least provide you a set of information to ask questions, and give you some time to think about. But ultimately, there would be a motion that would be to provide consents were requested and waivers to the agreements that you're party to with Vero Beach and St. Lucie. So with that, I'll take any questions you might have.
So you're looking for that motion, I guess, it says that October, November?
Yes, in the October-November timeframe, not tonight.
Right. And then you guys will, I would imagine, you'll make us aware of how we're positively affected, negatively affected, or affected. I mean, it sounds like you're moving one out, one in, stronger position
Right.
from the bond rating.
Yep.
And if we're, again, if we're affected in any negative way, that's the one thing I would want to know. So that would be it for me.
Yes, just add on to that, Commissioner, Mr. Chairman, guaranteed source of supply, as far as contracts. We still have a contract with St. Lucie.
This won't affect that.
There's no material effect there.
Right.
So, so we'll confirm that. I just want to
Right.
make sure we confirm that there's no effect.
We don't come out of the agreement any less for wear. Yeah, right, okay.
Is there any downside that you can say to us at this time, for us?
The only downside would be if you were if a lower, more credit risky party was coming in, then you'd say, gee whiz, they may not pay the bills, and if they don't pay the bills, then the remaining owners would have to pay their share of the bill.
But what you've said is that is not the case.
That
in
is
this
not the
particular
case.
deal. So-
That's right.
So you can sit there, stand there and tell us, in your opinion, there is no downside for this utility?
That's correct. And there's
Okay.
no other changes in the agreements, no other changes in your share. You get the exact same shares you got before, exact same cost allocation, et cetera. That's all the same.
Okay. Thank you for your time. sir.
All right. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
But speaking of communications.
Go ahead.
If you could turn your mic up a little bit more, they're
Well-
having a little bit hard time on the live streaming.
My battery has,
His or mine, or all of them?
Is yours okay? I think it was mainly Mr. Beamer.
you need to put a battery
Is
in
it
mine.
out? It's not
Yeah,
working?
well, it came back on, but that's the third time I've turned it on. I think somebody doesn't want to hear me speak, but that's all right. Mr. Barley, you have anybody else that's gonna, or is that's it?
That's it, until we have the documents.
Okay. Okay, thank you. All right, turn, all right. We have executive search, may we have?
Good evening, Brittany Pitcher, HR Manager. We are continuing in our process of a search for a replacement for Mr. Mitchum, as you know, with his pending retirement. This is the next step in the process, which is scope of services for an RFP. So we just need your approval so we can move forward.
Yes. Mr. Holcomb, go right ahead.
Yeah, I make a motion to approve the.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Is there any other discussion? Mr. Davenport? Did you run out of battery? Apparently. I have read the thing, and I had a couple of questions that were answered earlier on some wording on that. How many, do you have any idea how many people are going to want to help us find a new CEO?
I do not know at this time, no, sir.
Okay. Mrs. Pitch Parker, it has been moved and seconded that we accept the, to go out to find a search committee or a search group. Do you have any questions for the CEO? None? Okay.
Just let me clarify also, that motion also includes the approval of the CEO scope of duties, job description that wasn't specifically stated.
Okay. So in the scope of the CEOs, I'll amend my motion then to the scope of the CEO's duties and responsibilities.
Thank you.
Second motion.
Okay. Everybody understand what we're voting on? Go ahead, Debbie, please.
Chairman Beanbaum?
Yes.
Commissioner Fritz Parker?
Yes.
Commissioner Griffith?
Yes.
Commissioner Holcomb?
Yes.
Thank you. You want to stay up there and keep going?
I will stay up here and keep going, yes. The next item for your approval is the renewal of our risk management insurance that includes property, crime, casualty, and workers' compensation coverage for the fiscal year 2018. We are seeing an overall increase of 8%, which is not due to any negative factors on our end. It's simply due to increased payroll coming up, increased employee count, as well as new equipment and vehicles. We actually reduced our workers' comp mod rating again this year, which is a very good kudos to our employees and our staff for working safely.
Mr. Holcomb, do you have any questions? Ms. Fritz Parker?
We may not be able to answer this right now, and I understand if you can't, but I was curious, the increase is not a lot from last year, certainly, but I was curious to know what was budgeted for this, because that's not really being indicated. On this agenda item, it does say what account it's to come from. I would make a request moving forward that when we show the account number, if we could also give the account description, because it's Greek to me, but it's really got to be Greek to the other people that are on the commission with me. But yeah, I'm just curious, is that more than budgeted, less than budgeted? If it's more than budgeted, would we need to have a budget amendment? And so I'm just trying to understand that.
Certainly. To my knowledge, and I've also consulted with Mr. Belinsky before bringing the agenda item forward, we would not be overall over budget. They are budgeted differently in separate line items, which is why the account number has an X, because there are different accounts that go to each of these lines of coverage. So certainly, for example, workers' compensation, we are a little bit under budgeted, but we are making that up from our other lines where we reduced. So for example, general liability, we went, I'm sorry, in
okay.
property, we reduced.
I can see the total. Maybe, Mr. Mitchum, maybe if we could make a note that Mr. Belinsky could maybe, we could save that, and I could just get that information specifically for next time. That I just want to understand that better, because it seems like we never have a budget amendment. So I'm trying to understand why that is and understand it a little bit better than I do right now. So I have no problem with this.
Okay.
It was just more, it was an accounting question.
Yeah, it is important to understand for insurance that what we're showing is really just projected premiums, because those are subject to change and reduce at the end of the year when they do an audit. We a lot of times get credits back. So that's why you wouldn't see a budget amendment for insurance anyway.
We only do one audit. We don't do a quarterly audit on the insurance, on the workers' comp.
Our carrier only does, Lori, do they do annual? Yeah, only once a year.
So don't you pay workers' comp monthly based on your actual payroll, so you're never surprised?
No, we don't pay it monthly. We pay it quarterly. Quarterly, I believe,
So
yeah.
quarterly, do you pay it based on your actual payroll?
It's,
The estimation that they give us, and then once a
yeah,
year, they do it,
yeah,
where they come in and audit all of our,
yeah.
Okay, so I didn't hear you.
It's an estimation. So our quarterly bills that we pay are based on our estimated premium, which is what I've brought for you tonight. And then at the end of the year, when they do an overall audit, they decide if they owe us money or we owe them money based on actual payroll.
Gotcha. Okay. I do think, you know, like just as evidence, we went several years without big storms. And so obviously, when we have big storms, you all are incurring more payroll. And just from experience that I have had in accounting, I think that it's a really good idea to be submitting and paying your workers' comp based on your actual payroll, that you're truing up not once a year, that you're truing up once a quarter at a minimum, because then you're not surprised. And if we have a year of a lot of storms and you're incurring a lot of overtime that was not anticipated, then the workers' comp premium, when they come in to audit, is going to be more money, strictly based on payroll. I understand that if we do better from an experience rating and a safety standpoint, I get all that extremely well. So it's just, I'm just going to say that for the record, that I think that it's a good idea to true up on workers' comp more often than annually, because you can get in a lot of trouble on an annual projection, especially when you incur a lot of overtime.
Well, I thank you for that. We've done very well over the past many, many years, but thank you.
Okay. Anything else? Lee?
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I think it looks good, 8%, and based primarily on headcount.
Yes, sir.
That's a very, very good job, negotiation, and pulling it all together. So I would recommend we approve and make a motion to do it.
Okay. Mr. Griffith has made a motion. Mr. Holcomb has seconded that. Any other discussion? Debbie, please.
Chairman Beanbaugh?
Yes?
Commissioner Rich Parker?
Yes.
Commissioner Griffith?
Yes.
Commissioner Holcomb?
Yes.
Thank you, Ms. Patricia. Mrs. Fritz Parker, you are up.
Okay, at our last meeting, we voted unanimously to engage Mr. Thomas Cloud of Gray Robinson to do a number of things for us as delineated in the engagement letter that we have before us. I would like to see us as a commission go ahead and approve that engagement letter, which is the last item in here, so that we can move forward with this process that we have been looking to do for quite some time.
Okay. If you would like to make that a motion,
Yes,
okay,
I make a motion that we approve agenda item 8A.
okay, in the engagement letter. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Holcomb. Any discussion, one way or the other? Go ahead.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, just a couple of questions. Primarily the engagement letter, if I understand the right, speaks to what we can use with respect to capital improvement, what can we not use or set aside. We really have more questions than just fund issue.
I'm sorry, I thought in my mind that they were gonna take a look at really and let us know what we could, to give us a clearer picture of what we could and could not spend our money on. Not just capital items per se. And we had also asked him, I believe in the thing, we had asked him to take a look at a lot of data that was already available and has been provided to him so that he would have all of the proper information, as well as take a look at minutes from meetings for the past year to give him some good background. And that he would also be presenting to us, so that we won't just get a letter from him, that he would be coming back before us so that we could ask, all of us would have the ability to ask questions and get clarification.
That's helpful. It's all inclusive. It's not just what we can spend, we can't spend. Very good, thank you.
Jack? Yeah. Okay. Debbie, please.
Chairman Beanbaugh?
Yes.
Commissioner Rich Parker?
Yes.
Commissioner Griffith?
Yes.
Commissioner Holcomb?
Yes.
Anything for the good of the organization, sir?
Because it was brought up, and I guess there's a special website out there. From this commissioner's seat, I think it's a benefit for the community to own its utilities as an asset in the community. There's a lot of benefits. I think the farther you move away, it's like bigger government. You know, you take it, you sell it to FPL, and then you're dealing with somebody in Birmingham. So from where I sit, I think it's absolutely a benefit to the community to own our own utilities. The only thing I would always ask and put forth is we challenge it, we grow it, we make it better, we fill it with, you know, the resources it needs to be absolutely the best service it possibly can be, and we feed it the right way. And that's what it's the business, it's not the people, it's the actual business of the utilities that is what I take as my responsibility. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna challenge this business to be better, and that's where I sit. But as far as this conspiracy of, if anybody knows me, and I love my people, the friends over at the city, the last thing I wanna do is give them anything anymore. They've got enough on their plate, I think, as they said. No one's ever approached me at any time with even that on the plate. It's not even, the only thing the city's ever asked for is a better working relationship with the Utilities Commission that I think both ratepayers, citizens all benefit for. That's been the only communication I've ever had. But from where I sit, I think, you know, moving forward, better equipment for our employees. There's a lot of things when you walk around that we do a little bit better at investing back in our business. And that's all I'm looking for. That's how I'm gonna challenge the business, just as I would challenge my own. So that's it, that's where I stand, because I hate when people start to speculate out on websites, and I'd rather have you hear it from the horse's mouth, or the other end if you choose to look at me that way, but that's where we're at, that's my opinion, that's where I'm gonna move on. All right, so I just wanna clear the air.
Thanks, Jack. Ms. Fritz Parker, you have anything for the good of the organization tonight?
I have a question for Mr. Mitchum. Again, Mr. Belinsky might have to answer this, and I understand. But since it really is so close to September 30th, which is the entity's year end, is Brett Milliken and Company, or BMCO, or whatever their name is now, when they did our audit for 9/30/16, was that a one-year engagement letter? What was the deal with that?
I believe it's a three-year.
It's a 3 with 1 year options.
With, yeah.
So we have the ability, if you decided you want to change, or you want to, you know, we have the ability to opt out after 1 year. Each year stands on its own. It's a 3-year contract, but as I believe, each year stood on its own. Mr. Preston, I'm sure he's a lot more familiar with the contract. That's the way I believe it.
I don't recall the specific terms of the contract negotiated last year. I'll be glad to review them for you and
That'd be great.
give you
Just
my opinion.
next meeting, that'd be great.
Pretty sure that's what it was.
Thank you.
Anything else? Mr. Griffith?
Mr. Chairman, speaking of financial performance, I just wanted to congratulate everybody for the 39th, is it, consecutive year of receiving recognition for the continued financial report.
Very good.
Great recognition.
Thank you.
And thanks again for everything that was been said earlier tonight.
Thank you.
All the heads of departments that are sitting out there, I see 2 or 3 of you. Thank you for coming through the storm. Thank you for your diligence the whole time. Everybody I have spoken to has congratulated me, and I said, hey, I was in Pittsburgh. I had zip to do with this. The guys and the gals at the utility did it. And everybody on the dais at the city last Tuesday night specifically said to thank the utilities workers. So I am passing on, thank you, guys and gals. That's enough for tonight. Meeting adjourned.